Now, how I came in England, I was born in 1947, and it was my 70th a couple of days ago.
Wow, happy birthday.
Thank you. During that time, we were under British rule, because we had the independence back in 1959-60. And I remember when I was little, we have the English soldiers. Sometimes they would come through the village, and sometimes they would stop in the village square. And one of the things I used to be frightened when I used to, because we had a big door in the house, and I used to go and open and see them. And if they saw us, they would come and call us, and they go there and would give us either biscuits or chocolates to befriend them, obviously, which was nice. And we were very, very much, were taken by that. I went to elementary school at the village, and because it was a small village, for higher school we have to go to either to Famagusta or to the next village where it was a kind of a small town, which was about 6 miles from our village, from the age of 12 to the age of 18.
What was the name of your village?
Ardana. The next village that we had to go to the high school, it was called Trigomo. It was 6 miles from our school. You start learning a foreign language. Nowadays you can learn any language you want. Those days we learn English and French. But whereas English will kind of have it every day, French was once a week, for instance. At 18, by that time, we had the problems in Cyprus between the two communities, and we had to go to the army. Those people, I think your service would have been 2 years, but my uncle Axendis came to Cyprus on holiday, and when I was and he said to me, why don't you come to England to study? So I asked my mom and dad, and they were very happy to. So anyway, because I had to come to study, you will only have to do 14 months. So I finished then my in national service then in 1968, and on September the 6th, I came to England. And my uncle, he went to the college then, he knew the principal, and obviously he paid, by sending money to pay for my entry to the college. And I came to the college in 1968 with a view to get my O-levels and then study for accountancy. I liked economics more than anything else, and I wanted to be an accountant. So I got my O-levels and A-levels. Obviously, the first year it took me, until I learned the language properly and to understand. So I started a course in accountancy. I had to find my future employer, but I started in Bristol, in what it is now the University of Bristol. Then it was what was the college called? It was before it was the University of Bristol.
The Polytechnic.
It was the Polytechnic, yeah. And I went there until Christmas. We had, during the Christmas period, we have to go with our future employer to do a study there. And then if you finished it in time, then your future employer will give you some work to do. During that, when I finished it, and he said to me, Andrew, I'll give you some bank reconciliation statement. You do some bank reconciliation statements, and I started there. And whilst we were talking, he said to me, at the time he had businesses in Weston, an office in Weston and an office in Bristol. And also he had some flats in Bristol. And what he said to me one day, Andrew, where do you live? And I told him, because we've lived in the same area since we got married, which is just around the corner from here. And I said, yes, up where I live. I said, we got a bungalow, and we bought it at the time. Our father-in-law bought it for us as a wedding present, and it was £7,375. Yeah, and I think it was a period of about 4 years. It went up to 15,000. I said, they go up to 15, 16. Oh, he said, I can't afford that. I was taken aback. I thought to myself, what's my future if I'm going to, by the time I study and finish? And so I came home for lunch and I said to my wife, I said, Georgia was about 1 year old. I said, and my father-in-law at the time, he had businesses in Weston and in Bristol. I said, get in the car. He said to me, what for? I said, get in the car and I'll tell you on the way. So we got in the car. I said, I'm giving up. He said to me, why? I said, I explained, I spoke with my future employer, and I was put off. And we went to Bristol with my wife and I to see my father-in-law, because he was, my mother-in-law was in charge of the businesses in Weston. And my father-in-law, he used to go to Bristol every day to see the other business. He had a restaurant, and he had a club, and then a casino as well. So anyway, I went to see my father-in-law, and I told him. He said to me, listen, I will not ask you to leave what you're studying, but the decision is yours. If you decide you want to give up your studies and you want to come into the business, then it's fine by me. You stay in the business in Weston, and I will be more in the business in Britain. That's how we ended up in the end. Obviously, after Christmas, because I never went to college, they've written to me from the college, and they said to me, it's a pity to give up because your progress up to now, it was very good. We know now there is a trouble since it was in 1974, when there was the invasion. If you have problems with the money, we would like to help you because we don't want to miss you as a student.
Is that why you never went back to Cyprus after the education?
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, we had, when we came here, we came to study, and you had to, every year, you have to go through to London to do your visa, to renew your visa every time. So afterwards, because I never finished, had I finished, again, I'm more than certain I would have stayed here. Had I carried on, I'm more than certain I would have stayed here. Because my father-in-law was here from the 1950s. 1950, I think, he came to England. Although my wife was only 6 months old when she came, he had two brothers who were born here. So you are more English than you are a Cypriot. Yes, you have your heritage, but at the same time, your life is here. And you are classed. I remember once when I went to Cyprus, I went through customs, and instead of going where the English or the foreigners used to go, it was long before the EU, of course, I went through where the Cypriots used to go, and I had an English passport. So the guy there said to me, foreigners on the other side. I said to him, I'm a foreigner in England. I'm a foreigner in Cyprus now. Don't I have a mother-in-law, for crying out loud? I said, I serve this country. And he was apologetic. He said, I'm sorry, sir, maybe I phrased it wrongly. But that's how it is. You know, for us, home is here. I mean, I've lived here now 49 years, and I've lived in Cyprus before I came over. I was 21. So I've lived here more than twice as long. Home is here. When I go to Cyprus, I go on holiday like you. My mom and dad have passed on. One of my brothers passed on. You go, okay, I got a sister and I got a brother. And I got the other relations. But still, home is here. At the end of the holiday, you look forward to come back. Yeah, well, this is how it is, you know, and obviously I wouldn't change it. I'm happy with my life here. Yes, I'm happy when I go to Cyprus, but at the same time, now I got my grandchildren. Sometimes when we go to Cyprus on holiday, as we're getting older, I said to my wife, we'd like to spend a little bit more time, relax, because we're still working. And you want to, although it's seasonal, but, you know, we still want to take time to, yeah, that's right. So my wife said to me, make sure you don't get too long because we're going to miss the grandchildren. Although now we speak to them, you can speak to them and see them at the same time, so it's different these days. The old days, I remember, there was when my mother was alive, when they were in the village before the invasion, there was one phone box in the village. And if we wanted to speak to them, which was very, very few times, that once a year maybe or twice a year, then you ring the village telephone, and somebody will go and call them, and then we ring there to find them again. So, you know, nowadays, even children have, well, this is it, where'd you go? How did we get on before that? Now you go into town with your wife, and you have to call her to find where she is, if she goes to another shop. And I think to myself, how did we manage before?
Are you bringing the grandkids up with the same traditionals that you had as a child?
My son is married to an English girl, and her mother is so happy that they have both cultures, and they go to. There is a Greek school that they go to every Saturday, and maybe a weekday as well, for an hour or two during the weekday, and a couple of hours on Saturday. It's nice that they have the opportunity to learn the language as well as the culture of both, English and Greek. And I think those children are lucky because not only have the choice, and sometimes I tell them, and they like it, but now, as they're growing up, they go to Cyprus every year for a holiday. And they come back, I go and pick them up from the airport, and when they come, especially the little one, as they grow up, obviously it's different, but they used to come running to and say, "Oh, Papu," which is a granddad. We're going back next year as well, and they look forward to going back. And now that it's getting closer to the time when they are going again, they're talking about it, and they like it. At home, we always speak in English. If I go and speak to them in Greek, they will answer me in English. We don't mind that because, I mean, all right, with my wife, mostly we speak in Greek, but during conversations, we put English words in our conversation as well, and you cannot help it. And yeah, I'm sure the children, my grandchildren, will carry on. Whether one day they will teach their children the language, it all depends how the parents will carry on with them. And I think there's nothing wrong with trying to kind of marry the languages, if you see what I mean. It's nice. They have the opportunity of the two cultures. lots of people, they don't have that.
Was it harder for you when you first come here then, with the integration with the English, with Western in particular? Obviously that might be different to the grandkids now.
At that time, yes, it was difficult because there wasn't many young kids of my age. So it was difficult communicating with people of my age. But gradually, we have a few other kids that came from Cyprus to study. And it's funny enough, we met at college and we used to play football together and then mixing up with the other kids. We're slightly older than other children at college because we finished high school at 18, and by the time we finish another couple of years to the army, we are always older. The Greek guys, from Cyprus, you'll find them that they were older than their children at the college. But it was maybe at the beginning, until you learn the language and you were able to kind of communicate better with your friends and everything. You don't have problems after that. I mean, I remember we had a common room in the college when we moved to the new one, because I was when I came, we had we had the college. It was in two departments. The one on the side by going to before the big college. You have the college on the opposite, the Royal Hotel up on the cliffs. And the General Liberal Studies Department was past the police and down that way. And then I was lucky enough to be at to start a new college in Western, where we had a common room. You go and play in the common room during the half an hour during the lessons. So yes, there was no problems after that. As soon as you get friends, as soon as you befriend people here, it's the same anywhere else you go. Like we were talking earlier on with Chris when he went to Greece. He lived in the islands. It's entirely up to you really to make friends. People can, if you are a friendly person and you befriend people, then there is no problem after that, to be able to make friends and have a nice life.
Was there any difference with the Western people then, to their attitude
towards
you over the years?
Those years when I came, yes, there was an attitude then days. What I found though, then and now, one of the things that is still in my mind, in 1968 when I came, Weston was like a village. You could leave your car unlocked and nobody would bother you. Gradually, obviously, it's changed. But people's attitudes, not the older people, but youngsters, then days will probably call you a foreigner and things like that. But if you don't take any notice, it wouldn't go on. If you retaliated, then it's different. But I was never like that myself. Nowadays, you don't even think you are in another country because you are classed as one of them, if you see what I mean. We are, I think through Europe, there is no more kind of, you are English, I'm French, I'm German, it's different now. Then there was a little bit of not aggro, but you were classed as foreigner, which obviously, there's still a certain part of the world, it still happens. But generally, if I wasn't happy, I wouldn't have stayed here, if you see what I mean.
True.
And now I tell people, we couldn't have wished to be in a better country. This integration, most of our children, they intermarry. They intermarry, and it's a nice way because it's a nice way because in this country you live in this I remember. Growing up myself, when I came here and when I got married, in my mind, I wanted to my son to marry a Greek girl. But when the time came, he found his young lady. Now I couldn't wish for a better daughter. You know, I mean, you have that thing in your mind. You have that thing in your mind. At the same time, we're in I know we've got to be careful how we speak now, but we're in a Christian country. We're in a Christian country. So obviously that's the main thing.
Would there be any issues on the wedding?
No.
I know there was a wedding recently. There was a wedding recently, and they did it with an English.
During that. I see what you mean. I see what you mean. Yeah, I know the wedding you're talking about. Yeah, I know the wedding you're talking about now. No, what we have. Again, we have when we have our wedding. We do both. We do both in both languages. In both languages. If you have a Greek and marrying an English girl or the other way around, normally a prayer against some of the prayers would be said. Some of the prayers would be said in both languages. No problem at all because it's the same. It's the same gospel we have. It's the same gospel we have. Yeah, it's the same epistle.
Exactly. Do it in, say, with Catholic church or something. Would a priest then go and?
Because we have, if it's a Greek service that we're going to have, or marrying the Greek way, it's going to be an Orthodox. It's going to be an Orthodox. I mean, when we used before we had our church, we marry in an English church, in an English Catholic church, or in an English Catholic church, there's no problem. But now that we have our church, the services are always here.
Like say with many years ago, we had the Catholics. They had to be the same religion.
I think if you're not baptized, our Archdiocese says that if you're not baptized, then to marry somebody.
So you're saying baptized?
Yes. If people say the Greek girl or the Greek girl or English boy or the other way around, if the person they marry is already baptized, then they don't have to do nothing. If they're not baptized, they have to be baptized. In Greek, when you baptize somebody, when they're babies, when they're babies, in the water, you dip them in the water, right? And you put water over their head. The way that Christ was done, and was baptized. But when it's an adult, we used to just feed into the water, over the head, and put some water over the head. You don't have to do anything more than that. And we have the blessing from that, and we have the blessing from the Archbishop to do, But they have to be baptized. To be able to marry. With somebody in the Greek church. But other than that, there's no problem. Other than that, there's no problem at all. It's the same here. It's traditions that we want to carry on. I'm sure the younger generation, as they get older, they will want to do the same thing. They will want to do the same thing. And I'm sure they will. And again, like my son's mother-in-law, she's happy, and sometimes she comes. Good Friday, we have Good Friday, because we have the children, as you remember. She's happy to see that way and see the children participating, her grandchildren, just as happy and proud as I am. It's nice, as I said, a lot of people like that. This Sunday just gone. They had the Greek school, end of Greek year end of play, which they had here in church. Unfortunately, I said to my wife, as soon as so I wasn't here. They had their school play here. They had a school play here in church, and afterwards, they had a marquee outside. They had a marquee outside. They lit the barbecue. They brought some food. They brought some food. They had a lovely day. They had a lovely day. Uncle Alex saw in the paper that this church was up for sale, I think as a building plot, and he rang the Archbishop in London, and the Archbishop in London, he got in contact with a Bishop Welsenbach, and that's how it started, and they were very happy that we would have buy the church and keep it as a church. Because really, when a church is consecrated, it's a big thing to turn it into flats and things like that. So that's how it started. And through donations, slowly, first of all, it was repaired. And through donations, we managed to, about 5 of people from a committee that went to Greece to order the iconostasi. And the rest of the icons is offerings from people. Slowly, if we need an icon for some reason, if we are going to celebrate the saint and we haven't got the icon, people donate, and we get them we bring them from Cyprus. The icons, there's not anybody can go and paint one. You have to be specialized to do iconography, for instance, and it's not ordinary paints either. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't be able to go into detail with that, but coming into the church, obviously, the first thing that you need is the iconostasi, in which all the icons are on it. That's the altar. Behind there is the altar. Through that door, obviously, only the priest can go through, and all those that they are ordained. We go as people. We can go on the side, for those people that they help in the altar, like when you get the candles, because during the service there is we have to get the exapteriga, which I can show you when we go. I'll open the door there and show you. And we bring them out. 5 people will have the exapteriga, which is, I'll show you later on exactly what they are.
So how often do they come out then?
Once every liturgy.
And what's the liturgy? The
liturgy is when the celebration of for every Sunday, for instance, or any other liturgy you're going to have for a saint, but every Sunday is what we call the liturgy. The liturgy is it starts in the morning with Orthros, which is the beginning of the preparation, where the priest prepares the Holy Communion during Orthros, as we call it. The psalters, the chanter, sings certain parts of the Orthros, and the priest, if he needs to interact, then he chants as well, and he carries on with the preparation of the Holy Communion. And then after the Orthros is finished, and then we go into the liturgy. Thus, the liturgy is the main part after the Orthros, and that's when the exapteriga comes out, and the priest carries the Holy Communion along to the end of the church and back again, and goes through the main door. He comes from that door, he goes to the main door of the altar. And then we go into the liturgy. That's the rest of the liturgy. We chant, we hear the gospel. The chanter first he sings he chants the Apostle, and later on I'll give you a piece of paper of last week's, for instance, so you can see what it is. And it's the Apostle, and then the priest goes ahead and tells and sings the Gospel. We kind of chant it in a tone of chanting. The priest obviously chants. he reads the Gospel in Greek and in English, because sometimes we have English people that they come to church as well, that they are Christians, Orthodox Christians. So he sings, he reads the Gospel in Greek and in English. And also we say, we don't do a lot of English chanting, but the only thing that we say is the creed and a morning prayer, the Pater Immun, our Father in heaven. So we always say that, so because children, the only thing which is people sometimes complain about, all the singing, all the reading is in the ancient Greek. Mm-hmm. So obviously you find children and even adults, but we don't understand. But at the end of the day, that's how it's been done over the years. And our forefathers, some of them, they never even went to school, but they knew exactly what the teachings of all the Gospels and everything, they knew it without going to school, if you see what I mean, through the church, through the priest. So we try to tell the children, through books, because we have books at the end there, that the liturgy, you can follow the liturgy from a book there, and you can know exactly what's happening. But because we cannot simplify, because you lose the meaning. If you start it's like translating a word from Greek to English. Through translation, you will miss the meaning of it. So that's how it is. With the icons, on the right-hand side, the first icon you see is Jesus Christ, the Son of God. So on the other side is the Mother of God. The third icon, the third in hierarchy in the church, if you see what I mean, is St. John the Baptist. And always, in every church you're going to go, that's how you're going to see on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side of the Son of God, is St. John the Baptist, because he is classed as the third in hierarchy, because he is the one who prepared the road, because in Greek, prodromos is the one who prepared the road for the coming of Christ. And also when, as you know, I think through, if you go to church, when Christ was up on the cross, he said, now you are my, my mother is your mother now, to look after her, and he's classed as the brother of Christ. Next to the Mother of God is always the icon of the saint, or the person that the church is named after. So our church is St. Andrew's Church, so it's St. Andrew next to it. And normally, you get big churches and you can have 6 or 7 icons across on either side, but always on that side, next to St. John the Baptist, is Aios Spiridon, is a Cypriot saint, and again on the other side, it's the Archontas Michaelis. We have the angels and archangels that it's always one of them on the side, and you can see him with them. And then it's other icons that people offer, and they start always, okay, again, we have a big icon of the saint or whoever, whatever else, whoever else the name of the church belongs to. And our, obviously being St. Andrews, we have it on the side there. The rest of them is donations and icons that people offer to the church. Sometimes they probably give a donation. If the priest says we need a certain icon, people donate, and through those donations we have the icons. Every Sunday, whenever we have, most of the Sundays, we have the saints that we have celebrating, we have icons and we have them on that side. On the right-hand side is the Mother of God, if we haven't got a saint celebrating on that day. On the left-hand side, again, is St. Andrew, and then when we have the morning, because we have two Gospels, the morning one, which is the Othinoni, means morning, the Gospel in the morning, and when the priest always read the Gospel on the holy altar. The one that is read on the liturgy, he comes on the door, by the holy door there. On certain days, though, then he can read, which is far and a few between these Gospels, that you can read both Gospels on the holy altar, by the door, the holy door there. And when he reads the first Gospel, if we go there later on, I'll show you, the Bible, it brings the Bible there and places it on the side there, so people, if they miss, because when he reads the Gospel afterwards, he comes here with the Gospel, and all the people that they are in the church, they can come and kiss the Holy Gospel. And then he puts it down there, so people that they come after, they can kiss again the Holy Gospel. And then he's got another, another Bible for the other reading.
Is your congregation getting bigger?
It's got bigger and bigger all the time. I remember years and years ago, we'll come to the church and be about 10 of us, 10, 12 of us. Now the congregation gets bigger because people, as they get older, they come to, when you are young, you don't think you will need any spiritual, you don't have the spiritual feelings. As you get older, you prepare for the next life. So that's when, mostly anyway, but we get every Sunday around 40 people, maybe more. So it's good for our community, it's good. And like I said, there is a few English people that although there is an English speaking church in Bristol, and we have a lady that goes to that one, to the church in Bristol, to the English speaking church in Bristol, because there are two churches in Bristol. One which is traditionally Greek, but they do the same thing. They read the Gospel in Greek and English, and there is the one that is all in English.
Is that the difference then from being in Cyprus to here? Is doing the English bit as well?
Yes, we do the English bit because, as I said, because of the children, and because, like my son was born here. And sometimes even himself, and it's better if they hear the Gospel in English. And I will admit that sometimes I might refer to the English text, because there are words that I would find easier to understand through that rather to the ancient Greek. Mm. So that's why, we have those because for the people to understand.
To get to a more personal note, what made you become the Chancellor of this place?
I was, when I was about 11 years old, I think my last year in the elementary school, the priest asked our teacher in the elementary school that he wanted two people. It was when we start in the Easter period, that they wanted two children to go and read is some readings that we do during the preparation for the Easter time, for the 40 days. So I went, and you kind of read it, but chanting. And one of the chanters, when he heard me, he said to me, I want you to come every Sunday here, and you start, to teach you how to sing, how to chant. And that's how I started. I used to go there. But to learn the Byzantine way, music way, you have to go either to a school or to find somebody who knew to teach you the notes and things like that. And luckily for me, it was a guy who he went to America when he was very young, but before he went to a school, and he was really a good chanter. He passed away now. And my father paid, well, not very much, for me to go and start learning. And I was I think it was in the last year when I was at high school. And as soon as I started the lessons, because obviously you have to learn the notes first, and then you have to start how you start singing with the notes. And by then, I finished high school, and I had to go to the army and come over. I brought all my books, and when I was here, I brought a few tapes, and through the tapes and everything, and now with the internet, especially with the internet, I slowly, I've got to be able to sing and satisfy yourself that you are chanting properly. Obviously, you never stop learning, but it's a nice way of offering your service to God, and you feel pleased by the end of the day or by the end of your time here that you are able to offer your things to God. The robe that I wear on service day, it came from it's a kind of recognition by our Archbishop, and he came down on the day, and he presented me, with the honor of being a chanter, the leading chanter in our church here. And it's lovely. It's a lovely kind of. You are pleased, that your services are recognized by the hierarchy, if you see what I mean. And I do that because I like it, but also, is the feeling that you offer your service to God. And doesn't matter how busy it is, even back holidays and everything, I will always be here on the mornings of the Sunday, and whatever time I finish, then I can go to the business. And like for Easter, because on Easter time, we start on the Sunday before Easter, which is a Palm Sunday, and we have services, like on that day, we have service on the Sunday morning, and in the evening is another service, and every evening of that week there is a service, but also some mornings on the Wednesday, on the Thursday, and on the Saturday, and Friday and Saturday there are mornings, and I'm always here offering myself to.
Do you now teach the younger generation?
The priest always told me. I said to the priest, I'm I would love to, but children, first of all, yes, they can read, but you have to be kind of fluent to be able to read and chant as well.
It needs to be your first tongue, really.
Yes, in a way, yes. I know for myself, although I've been here 49 years, because if you don't come early enough in your life, you'll always have a kind of how can I put it? It's not my first language, put it this way. And I know when I say the creed in English and also the Sunday prayer, that my tongue always will fail on some of the pronunciation of certain words. Obviously, that will stay with me, and I will take it with me one day when I go up, when I go up or down.
So how would it work then with each generation if the English then becomes more the where are you going to get the future chanters from?
I am sure, like now, for instance, the last few it could be more than 3 months now, a guy from Greece came. He was in I think in Glasgow. He's a civil engineer, and now he came and he's on a new power station, and Hinkley Point, and he's going to be there for a few years, I think. And he's a good chanter. He's in his early 40s, 41, I think, or 42. And one day, I think he went to Bristol once, as he was telling me, and then he found that we had a church, because at the time he lived in Bridgewater, I think it was. And when he found the church on the internet, and he knew we have a church, he came one morning, and he's assisting now here. He's a good chanter. He's a chanter that he's finished his properly. And also there's somebody else that helps me, is my cousin. Is a little bit younger than me, is 5 years younger than me. I'm sure God, like the first priest we had here, he was a Spanish priest, he came from Spain, and he was a Catholic priest. And he became an Orthodox priest in the end. And one day, he was with us for about 17 years. He lived in Bristol. I think he came here to teach Spanish in school. I think that's how he came. And he married an English lady here. And once day he said to me, Andreas, he said to me, do you think we are here by luck? No, he said to me, God, make sure that somebody is here to do what you're doing now. And maybe in future, like now the other guy is helping me, I'm sure he in turn, he will find somebody else, and that's how we will carry on. And I'm sure if at the end of the day, priests nowadays, we have priests that they were born here, and they become priests. We have English priests. We had a family coming from, an English family coming from Taunton. And eventually, they were Orthodox. And eventually, their son, I remember him, he was a little boy, and they had a daughter. The son eventually wanted to become a priest. And he went to London, he became a priest, and he married a Greek girl. And he's a good, very, very good, it was a lovely, lovely family they were. So you see things like that happen. And God will always put his hand somewhere to make sure that things are carried on either in Greek or in English. It doesn't matter. I mean, most of as we older ones, we go. The children here, my son, as I said, he understands Greek and he speaks Greek, but not in the way he knows the English. And eventually, I'm sure they will possibly have service that they will do service in English and Greek at the same time, because all the books that we can get from our archdiocese in London, we have books there that you can have the service, you can follow the service in Greek and in English. And always, if I bring you one of the sheets that we had on Sunday, for instance here, well, this is the Apostle in Greek, and then the Epistle, which is the Apostle is in the Epistle, the reading in English. And again, we have the Gospel in Greek first and in English. And you have the meaning of it, and you can read again. Those that they don't follow, they can have the sermon both again, and it's nice. And that's why children, we have, of course you can, yeah, that's why I said I was going to give it, and possibly I'll have a look and see if we've got next week's, and that's last week's. But if I have next week as well, you can have the next week. So I mean, I have my granddaughter, my oldest granddaughter, she's nearly 12 now, and they come to church, not as often, but they come to church, and they take Holy Communion, and they're happy, and they are, like now that she's old, she can follow through that for the Gospel and for the Epistle, and they are very proud of that their granddad is a chanter. Ως των Αποστόλων πρωτόκλητος και του κορυφαίου αυτάδελφος, το δεσπότη των όλων Ανδρέα οικέτευε, ειρήνη τη οικουμένη δωρήσαστε, και τε ψυχές ημών το μέγα Eleos.
That was amazing. I've never actually heard that before.
Yeah, it's a nice. A lot of people find that very. It's different, but also I think when you chant, it makes the people more interested and they can follow it better. Every week. And we have different, it's different chanting. We have 8 tones in the Byzantine music, and every week is tone 1, tone 2, tone 3, tone 4, and it's played 1, and that's it. Plaios, as we say, 3, 2. And varies, and it's 8 tones, and every week is changes. And then when the 8 tones finish, then we start from the beginning again, and it's again with the Gospels. And we have 11, I think it is, for with the mornings for the Gospel. There are 11. So every week we go with different Gospel and with different epistle, unless that day it happens to be on a Sunday. It's always the Gospel is the same Gospel, but the epistle will change if it's a name day of of a saint. That epistle will be different, and that's for the saint. But coming on to, we have, as I said, it's the best service is during the Orthros in the morning. It's a lot of chanting by the chanter, obviously. We have I always love the time when we come to Christmas, and we have the odes. They're called odes, and you chant them during the Orthros, and it's if I chant one of them, you see there's a different, as I said, a different thing altogether. If I'll chant one so you can hear the difference of the Christos γεννάται δοξάσατε, Χριστός εξ ουρανών απαντήσατε, Χριστός επί γης υψώθητε, άσατε το Κύριο πάσα η γη και νεφροσύνη, ανυμνήσατε λαοί, ότι δε δόξαστε. Now what that means is, it says Christ is being born. So you celebrate Christ from heaven, you welcome him. Christ on earth is risen. Άσατε το Κύριο πάσα η γη. All around the earth start singing about Christ, and you know, it's reading all this. Sometimes as I sing, my hair is coming. You know, you start feeling it.